So welcome back. I thought I'd take a minute here to talk a little bit about the world conspiracy. Um, there's a lot of talk these days on the internet and in other media about whether or not there's some kind of a world conspiracy. Bankers, wealthy people, individuals, families, and so on, who perhaps for centuries have conspired to rule the world and control people and so on. Now, I've listened to a lot of that, and it's hard, because there's a lot of secrecy involved in politics and finances, that it's hard to track down who does what and all this. But from my observations and investigation, I pretty much assume that it almost goes without saying. There are people out there who have families, they like money extraordinarily, they like power, they like to rule, they're mean and all of that. Been like that for thousands of years, for all we know. Different kinds of control mechanisms that rulers and financial people do. Now, my take on that is, in some ways, it's irrelevant. I don't mean to say that we should ignore it and all that. I'm just saying that whether or not the world situation is deliberate because it's being manipulated, or whether through our collective unconsciousness as human beings over centuries we collectively have made choices in our societies to pursue things that are limited. We often give power to rulers, we vote them in, then we complain why they decide to do things. People don't try to fight against ruthlessness or power mongering. So collectively, our world has come to a point here that is scary. Now, if you look at history, all the great empires are gone. Egypt's gone, Rome's gone, Persia's gone, the great Hindu empire was gone, the British Empire is tiny now, so they're gone. In the long run, of course, if you pursue, even people who pursue this ultimate control, they're going to die. They're just going to die and fade away. Now, Alexander the Great was a great conqueror, and at a young age he declared himself a god, and he decided that he was going to try to conquer the entire world. So he did a bunch of stuff, and at one point he ended up in India, and supposedly where he went there, he came to a yogi who was sitting there meditating, and he said, excuse me, but I'm a god, I've just conquered your country, I want you to bow to me. And this yogi laughed at him. Just laughed. But I'm not going to do that. And Alexander was really, really puzzled, because he just never met somebody who wasn't afraid like that. And he started asking this, so what, how come you're like this? How come you don't fear me? Don't you know who I am? And apparently, this yogi just basically said, look, one day you will die. You came in this world a baby with nothing in your hands. You're going to leave this world as a crippled old man, perhaps, or get killed in battle. And when you die, you'll have nothing in your hands. Where's your empire? It's gone, finished. And he said, I've already experienced the immortal. This body is just a container for me. It's just a vehicle. And apparently, I don't know all the details, this is what I read, but apparently it so impressed Alexander. First of all, he didn't kill the yogi, but toward later in his life, he was buried with models of his hands on, I came into this world empty-handed and I leave empty-handed. So, if there's people out there conspiring to rule, what are they going to rule over? A dying planet? And as human beings who are not part of a so-called conspiracy, and we want something different in our life, freedom, the ultimate freedom is within our souls. And that comes through meditation, yoga, awareness of our spirit, and slowly but surely, if people resist that kind of domination by their own internal realization, and financially, people are in a trap. I know in America, in many parts of the world, it's an endless consumer economy. Buy, 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 shop, shop, shop. Now, people fall for that. They buy stuff. They buy endless stuff. They fill up their homes with junk. Constantly buying and buying and buying a new model and new this because they're not satisfied. It's always an appeal to dissatisfaction. If you buy this, if you take this pill, if you do this, then you'll be happy. It's a lie. Always has been. And what people, I believe, should do is learn how to be content within themselves, because it's possible. Then we don't need so much, for one thing. We don't need to constantly buy. We don't need to be trapped by a lot of things that someone is putting out there saying, oh, you have to buy this and you're stuck. You say, I don't need that. I already have. I'm already wealthy inside. And I'm going to talk a little more about conspiracy in other videos. And somehow our culture has, I believe, has to adapt and adopt a different viewpoint on the purpose of our life. Because if our purpose of our life is to get power and money, then we're going to be in some ways just pursuing the same things that conspiracists want. They want power, they want money, they want control. But if you realize we have already wealth and contentment, then we have a lot more power to say, we're going to live differently, go have your empire, but that's it, So I'm going to try to address this a little more in some other videos.